nervous, 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 nervous. Anticipation, 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 anticipation. Shake off, shake off, shake off, shake off. Missing, 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 missing. Plate, 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 plate. Doubt, 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 doubt. Perfect, 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 perfect. Sudden, 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 sudden. Burst, 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 burst. Inspiration, 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 inspiration. Grab, 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 grab. Transform, 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 transform. Landscape, 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 landscape. Fade, 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 fade. Handiwork, 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 handiwork. Exactly, 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 exactly. Guarantee, 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 guarantee. Definitely, 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 definitely. Unwanted, unwanted, unwanted. Unpleasant, unpleasant, unpleasant. Environment, environment, environment. Nonetheless, nonetheless, nonetheless. Accept, accept, accept. Hatred, hatred, hatred. Develop, develop, develop. Acceptance, acceptance, acceptance. Create, create, create. Compassion, compassion, compassion. Allow for, allow for, allow for. Opportunity, opportunity, opportunity. Suitable, suitable, suitable. Accomplish, accomplish, accomplish. Task, task, task. Decide, decide, decide. Recognize, recognize, recognize. Situation, situation, situation. Expression, 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 expression. Enemy, 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 enemy. Get over, get over, get over, get over. Obstacle, 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 obstacle. Solution-based, 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 solution-based. Policy, 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 policy. All or nothing, all or nothing, all or nothing, all or nothing. Mentality, 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 mentality. Be willing to be willing to be willing to be willing to. Alter, 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 alter. Influence, 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 influence. Outcome, 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 outcome. Push for, push for, push for, push for. Emerge, 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 emerge. Well-funded, 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 well-funded. Match, 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 match. Originally, 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 originally. Conceive, 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 conceive. Bill, 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 bill. Succeed in, succeed in, succeed in, succeed in. Ensure, 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 ensure. Troubled, 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 troubled. Have access to, have access to, have access to, have access to. Count, 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 count. Effort, 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 effort. Absolutely, 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 absolutely. Needle, 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 needle. Vastly, 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 vastly. Relevance, 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 relevance. Fast track, fast track, fast track, fast track. Company, 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 company. Firm, 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 firm. Appear, 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 appear. Plateau, 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 plateau. Assume, 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 assume. Ambitious, 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 ambitious. Individual, 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 individual. Victim, 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 victim. Relevant, 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 relevant. Embrace, 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 embrace. Advance, 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 advance. Industry, 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 industry. Executive leadership, executive leadership, executive leadership, executive leadership. Expose, 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 expose. Integrate, 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 integrate. Excel, 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 excel. Resistant, 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 resistant. ultimately, 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 ultimately. Be let go, be let go, be let go, be let go. Retirement, 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 retirement. Update, 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 update. Consequence, 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 consequence. Shed light, shed light, shed light, shed light. Intake, 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 intake. Cognitively, 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 cognitively. Volume, 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 volume. Hippocampus, 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 hippocampus. Unusual, 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 unusual. Benefit, 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 benefit. Associated with, associated with, associated with, associated with. Diet, 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 diet. Isolate, 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 isolate. Various, 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 various. Component, 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 component. Subject, 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 subject. Do favors, do favors, do favors, do favors. Inverse, 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 inverse. Cortex, 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 cortex. Outer, 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 outer. Layer, 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 layer. Latter, 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 latter. Excessive, 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 excessive. Consumption, 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 consumption. Metabolic, 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 metabolic. Cognitive, 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 cognitive. Processed, 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 processed. Carbs, 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 carbs. Self-conscious, 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 self-conscious. Awareness, 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 awareness. Radar, 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 radar. Pay attention, pay attention, pay attention, pay attention. Mess up, mess up, mess up, mess up. Rough, 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 rough. Notice, 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 notice. Be aware that, be aware that, be aware that, be aware that. Observe, 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 observe. Judge, 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 judge. Discover, 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 discover. Flaw, 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 flaw. Weakness, 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 weakness. Hide, 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 hide. Personality, 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 personality. Role model, role model, role model, role model. Citizen, 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 citizen. At the expense of, at the expense of, at the expense of, at the expense of. Please, 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 please. Instead of, instead of, instead of, instead of. Position, 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 position. Apologize, 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 apologize. Permanently, 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 permanently. Consider, 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 consider. Portrait, 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 portrait. Photographer, 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 photographer. Energetically, 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 energetically. Devote oneself to, devote oneself to, devote oneself to, devote oneself to. Clear out, clear out, clear out, clear out. Convert A into B, convert A into B, convert A into B, convert A into B. Illustrative, 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 illustrative. Convince, 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 convince. Pose, 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 pose. Theatrical, 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 theatrical. Costume, 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 costume. Compose, 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 compose. Criticize, 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 criticize. So-called, 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 so-called. Critic, 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 critic. Ignore, 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 ignore. Convention, 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 convention. Experiment, 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 experiment. Composition, 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 composition. Focus, 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 focus. Appreciate, 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 appreciate. Spiritual, 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 spiritual. Perfection, 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 perfection. Expression, 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 expression. medium, 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 medium. Certainty, 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 certainty. Stem from, stem from, stem from, stem from. Ancient, 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 ancient. Ancestor, 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 ancestor. Survive, 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 survive. Alongside, 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 alongside. Saber-toothed tiger, saber-toothed tiger, saber-toothed tiger, saber-toothed tiger. Poisonous, 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 poisonous. Berry, 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 berry. Evolve, 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 evolve. Attend to, attend to, attend to, attend to. Threat, 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 threat. Keep away from, keep away from, keep away from, keep away from. Direct, 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 direct. Alert, 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 alert. Protect, 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 protect. Dependence, 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 dependence. Millennium, 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 millennium. Ensure, 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 ensure. Achieve, 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 achieve. Label, 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 label. Vague, 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 vague. Unpredictable, 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 unpredictable. Generate, 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 generate. Sensation, 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 sensation. Element, 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 element. Consistency, 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 consistency. Virtue, 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 virtue. Advantage, 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 advantage. Judgment, 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 judgment. Ability, 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 ability. Detect, 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 detect. Advantageous, 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 advantageous. Combine, 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 combine. Statistical, 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 statistical. Examine, 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 examine. Possibility, 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 possibility. Forecast, 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 forecast. Demand, 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 demand. Product, 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 product. Create, 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 create. Composite, 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 composite. Average, 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 average. Assume, 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 assume. Stable, 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 stable. Account for, account for, account for, account for. Novel, 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 novel. Competitor, 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 competitor. Introduction, 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 introduction. Incorporate, 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 incorporate. Factor, 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 factor. Prove, 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 prove. Accurate, 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 accurate. Means, 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 means. Helpless, 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 helpless. Assert, 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 assert. Solve, 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 solve. Get along with, get along with, get along with, get along with. Equal, 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 equal. Obedient, 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 obedient. Rebellious, 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 rebellious. Subordinate, 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 subordinate. Deliberately, 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 deliberately. Dose, 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 dose. Moderate, 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 moderate. Negotiate, 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 negotiate. Please, 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 please. Arise, 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 arise. Conflict, 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 conflict. Verbal, 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 verbal. Investor, 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 investor. Entirely, 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 entirely. Revenue, 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 revenue. Growth, 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 growth. Net income, net income, net income, net income. Earn, 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 earn. Boost, 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 boost. Reported, 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 reported. Exchange, 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 exchange. Change hands, change hands, change hands, change hands. Record, 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 record. Expense, 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 expense. result in, result in, result in, result in, additional, 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 cash inflow, cash inflow, cash inflow, cash inflow, accountant, 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 criterion, 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 recognition, 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 principle, 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 scholar, 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 myth, 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 argue, 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 structure, 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 amplify, 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 evolve, 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 virtual, 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 fulfill, 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 conversely, 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 sustain, 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 mere, 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 handful, 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 adherent, 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 regularly, 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 completely, 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 immersive, 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 consume, 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 ultimately, 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 weird, 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 wide-ranging, 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 participants, 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 threshold, 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 psychological, 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 describe, 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 extreme, 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 harsh, 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 benign, 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 obvious, 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 midday, 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 desert, 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 Antarctic, 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 salinity, 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 physiological, 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 tolerance, 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 cactus, 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 cacti, 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 Antarctica, 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 ecologist, 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 assume, 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 organism, 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 rather, 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 emotive, 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 relativity, 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 rational, 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 outcome, 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 current, 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 ideal, 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 measure, 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 in short, in short, in short, in short, go by, go by, go by, go by, involve, 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 instinct, 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 intuition, 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 variable, 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 not necessarily, not necessarily, not necessarily, not necessarily, reflect, 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 existing, 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 likewise, 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 pedestrian, 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 appearance, 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 precisely, 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 self-driving car, self-driving car, self-driving car, self-driving car, humanly, 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 continuum, 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 battle, 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 addiction, 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 villain, 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 aggressively, 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 defeat, 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 approach, 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 spawn, 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 frame, 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 specifically, 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 phrase, 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 misguide, 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 Expectation, 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 expectation. Imply, 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 imply. Rarely, 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 rarely. Get rid of, get rid of, get rid of, get rid of. Apply, 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 apply. Incorrect, 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 incorrect. Assumption, 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 assumption. Creature, 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 creature. Reason, 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 reason. Emotion, 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 emotion. Get by on, get by on, get by on, get by on. Eventually, 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 eventually. Whole grain, whole grain, whole grain, whole grain. Reason, 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 reason. Quality, 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 quality. Loved ones, loved ones, loved ones, loved ones. Etc., 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 etc. Ultimately, 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 ultimately. Value, 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 value. Emotion, 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 emotion. Deep-seated, 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 deep-seated. Rarely, 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 rarely. Influence, 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 influence. Organ, 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 organ. Signal, 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 signal. Discharge, 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 discharge. Negatively, 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 negatively. Load, 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 load. Compared to, compared to, compared to, compared to. Electric field, electric field, electric field, electric field. Current, 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 current. Muscle, 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 muscle. Cell, 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 cell. Contract, 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 contract. Chunk, 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 chunk. Intensity, 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 intensity. Ordinary, 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 ordinary. Frequency, 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 frequency. Distance, 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 distance. Advantage, 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 advantage. Several, 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 several. Range, 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 range. Interference, 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 interference. Creativity, 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 creativity. Have an effect on, have an effect on, have an effect on, have an effect on. Productivity, 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 productivity. Individual, 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 individual. Approach, 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 approach. Speciation, 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 speciation. Tangled, 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 tangled. Collection, 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 collection. Deliberation, 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 deliberation. Quick attack, quick attack, quick attack, quick attack. Publication, 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 publication. Count, 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 count. Drastically, 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 drastically. Polymerase, 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 polymerase. Chain reaction, chain reaction, chain reaction, chain reaction. Amplify, 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 amplify. Substitute, 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 substitute. Puzzle, 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 puzzle. Distinguish, 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 distinguish. Direction, 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 direction. Determine, 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 determine. Propose, 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 propose. Dimension, 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 dimension. Evolution, 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 evolution. Vertical, 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 vertical. Define, 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 define. Gravity, 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 gravity. Mobile, 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 mobile. Positioning, 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 positioning. perception, 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 perception. Versus, 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 versus. Horizontal, 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 horizontal. Axis, 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 axis. Relevant, 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 relevant. Equally, 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 equally. Upside down, upside down, upside down, upside down. Man-made, 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 man-made. Tell, 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 tell. Invert, 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 invert. Artificial, 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 artificial.